Okay, as promised, we're having a brief look in this video at the Gaelic Athletic Association. Now, I will go into more detail in later videos. I will look at each individual sport that the GAA is involved in. I'll look at, obviously, the history and the social and political impacts of the GAA. Some of those videos may be on the other channel because they are really historical, really important, and I think deserve a bit more of a dissection when it comes to the social impacts and the importance of the GAA to Irish culture. But in this video, we're looking on the sporting side of it. We're looking at the stadiums, the sports that the GAA is involved in, its membership and its revenues. So here we go, let's delve in. I'm going to try my best with the Gaelic pronunciations as well. I have been practicing. So, the headquarters is at their biggest stadium of Croke Park in Dublin. We'll be doing a video on Croke Park in due course as well. The status is still amateur, and I believe it will stay amateur for a long time to come. Whether it turns professional or not is we'll wait and see on that one. But again, when I do the research on the GAA, we'll look at why the amateur status is so important. The sports that they cover. Now, they cover rounders, which did surprise me, and I have actually played rounders. Now, whether that's a variation on the rounders that we play over here in the UK and further afield, I will look into in the rounders they play in Ireland. I believe it's the same. Gaelic handball, again, we'll look at that. Gaelic football, the most popular participation sport and spectator sport across the whole of Ireland. That includes Republic and Northern Ireland. Hurling is the men's sport, and this is important. Camogie, I believe I've pronounced that correctly, is the women's version of hurling. 100,000 worldwide participants, and they get decent attendances and TV audiences as well. And I think this is where I think the GAA have got something right. Other sports, we've seen the women's version met with some criticism. A lot of criticism, to be fair. And I think the GAA have got that one right, splitting hurling and I believe it's pronounced camogie. If I've got that wrong, please say in the comment section below. I'm obviously wanting to learn how to pronounce Gaelic words properly because I fear that I'm going to keep making these faux pas and I don't want to do that. But I do believe the GAA have got that right by separating those two sports. And when I actually look into them and really look into them, it'll be very interesting to see why they decided to split hurling from camogie. But they're basically the same sport. One's just played by men, one's just played by women. The membership, the latest figures I could get from membership globally, so this also includes the Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland, and then worldwide, around 500,000. 500,000. And the latest figures I could get were from 2014. I'm assuming there are later figures out there. Obviously, the COVID pandemic has impacted a lot of data collection and various things over the last couple of years. But around 500,000 worldwide members of the GAA, which is fantastic. The revenues, though, is what really surprised me. I was really stunned by how little revenue they actually made. 65.6 million euros was made in 2017. Now, I couldn't find any later figures, although later figures are probably available. But that did surprise me how low the revenues were. That did. Really surprised there. And now we'll go on to the major stadiums. So, obviously, Croke Park is their showpiece stadium. Has a capacity of 82,300 in Dublin. It's one of the top 5 stadiums in Europe for capacity. It's bigger than the Aviva. Now, when we get into the history of Croke Park, obviously, for a brief period while Lansdowne Road was being redeveloped into the Aviva, Croke Park hosted the rugby union and football international teams, and there was a lot of debate around that, not only within the GAA but within Irish society, and there was a bit of controversy around that because of the GAA's stance on what is perceived as garrison sports, which would be rugby union, rugby league, cricket, and football. And because 2 of those sports used Croke Park, there was a big moment in Irish society, and there was a debate whether they should or shouldn't. I'm thankful they did, because we got to see Croke Park for the facility that it is on a more global audience. You've been hiding a gem from us, you Irish. Croke Park is on my bucket list. It's a fantastic stadium, and I really do want to do the stadium tour. I want to learn as much as I can about Croke Park. It is a fantastic stadium, one of the biggest stadiums in Europe, as stated. But some of these other stadiums are quite sizable as well. And you've got to think of Ireland's population size isn't massive. Some of their major towns and cities would be classed, as quite small by British and European standards. But some of these stadiums are big. It just shows the impact that the GAA sports have on the local communities and the wide reach they have, not only out of the towns, but in the rural areas as well. So, Semple Stadium in Thurles has a capacity of 53,000. That's a sizable. That's the second biggest GAA stadium in Ireland. You've got the Gaelic grounds in Limerick. That's 50,000 capacity. Now Limerick is one of the big urban areas. That doesn't surprise me. Right, here comes my practicing of Gaelic pronunciations, and I have been practicing this for all you people in Cork. I'll do my best. Park y Keeve, or the Park in Cork. I do hope I've got that pronunciation right. I have actually been practicing and trying my best. I probably got it wrong, and you'll no doubt give me some jibs in the comment section, but I tried my best there. 45,000. Now, my dad's family's ancestors come from that part of Southern Ireland, the Curran family, Cork, Waterford, Wexford, and it's a part of the country of the Republic that I do want to visit and learn more about and research more about. So, yeah, 45,000 doesn't surprise me with Cork being a big urban area in Ireland. Some of these other stadiums, though, for the population area that they're covering are pretty big. So you can see that people from far and wide are obviously really into their GAA sports in Ireland, especially in the rural areas as well. So you've got the Fitzgerald Stadium in Killarney, that's 43,180. You've got McHale Park in Castlebar, that's 42,000. These are still bigger than some Premier League and Championship grounds we have in English football, by the way. St Tiernack's Park in Clones, 36,000. The Kingspan Brafini Park in Cavan Town, that's 32,000. Casement Park in Belfast, 32,600. That's a pretty sizable stadium. Now, Belfast has some big stadiums to do with rugby union and football, but that's a pretty sizable stadium alongside like Windsor Park, for example, as a football stadium in Belfast. And Belfast's got a rather sizable population, quite a big city. Nolan Park in Kilkenny, that's 27,800. O'Moore Park in Portlaoise. I hope I've got that right. I've been trying with my pronunciation there. 27,000. Healy Park in Omagh, 26,500. And Pearse Stadium in Galway have got 26,197. They are the biggest major stadiums that the GAA play their sports at. Now, as I said, I will be doing a video on Croke Park. That is on my bucket list. And some of these stadiums are fantastic in size. And you've got to look at the population size of just the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland. It isn't massive. It's only around, 6.5 million? Something like that. It's not a massive population size. So some of these stadiums really, it does shows the cultural and significant impact that the GAA sports have in not only in the local community, but the wider reaching rural communities, the little villages, the smaller towns outside of the bigger urban areas, which draw fans in from far and wide. It just shows the cultural significance of the GAA, which is something I want to research and understand the importance of. Because I think, and I'm going to finish on this point, I do think that history, and sporting history and the cultural history, when we're taught it at school and at university, they miss out huge sections of our history, both in the UK and in the Republic of Ireland. They miss out huge bits. They romanticise certain bits and demonise others rather than just teaching so we can learn from it. And the GAA stayed amateur for a reason. When they used Croke Park, and this is, I think, how far we as two nations have come from where we were. When they used Croke Park for the rugby union national side and the football national side, the debate that they were having, that wouldn't have happened 20 years prior, 30 years prior. That just would not have happened. But because Lansdowne Road was in the middle of that redevelopment, it does show how far we have come. That would not have happened. I know that for a fact. That would not have happened 20 years earlier, 30 years earlier. That would just not have been allowed. The Irish national side would have probably had to play somewhere else at a rugby union stadium. They would not have been allowed to play there. Same with the football team. That would not have happened in the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, for example. It just would not have happened. Just flat out would have been no. So the fact that the GAA were brave enough to make that decision, considering that it was a very divisive issue, something as simple as where a national team can play their games, shows the importance socially and historically that the GAA have, and how sport has been used as a political tool for both good and bad. That was a very good use of a political tool. I think that the stadium is a hidden gem that the world needs to see. Croke Park is not known really outside of Ireland until the Six Nations and the Irish National Rugby Union side were playing games there. A lot of people outside of Ireland just had no idea that Croke Park existed and how important it was to the Irish people. It's a fantastic stadium. I'm not going to lie, it is on my bucket list. It is an absolute cathedral of sport. So that's my viewpoint on that. There'll be those that will disagree with my viewpoint on that, but I think Croke Park is just fantastic. So I hope I haven't mispronounced, or I've got the pronunciations as close as possible to on the Gaelic side of things. Apologies if I've got them wrong. We will do more videos on the GAA in due course, but thank you very much from me for spending 10, 11 minutes of your day watching this content, and please feel free to mention anything in the comment section, any of the various sports, how I should look into them, what certain aspects of hurling or Gaelic football I should research more, and also why is rounders a GAA sport? Because I played it over here in England at school. I'm very curious as why rounders has become a GAA sport in Ireland. Very, very curious. In a good way, because I've played it. So I find that one an interesting one. So can someone explain why rounders became under the domain of the GAA at some point in Irish sporting culture, please? But for me, thank you very much for watching. And I'll have some more content for you soon. And make sure just leave a comment in the comment section below. I really want to learn more. So thank you very much from me, and I'll have some more content for you very, very soon.